Well,
I don't know.
let's not get carried away.
Okay. All right.
Thanks, Steph. Love it. We ended on a high note.
No, we'll still be here.
Amy and I will be back tomorrow. Steph will be replaced by a robot.
The robot will have red.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Well, good morning to you and welcome into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer and thanks for joining us on this Thursday morning live on Fox Local, fox35orlando.com, and also on YouTube. I've got a lot going on, several more events going on this morning that we want to let you know about and that we will take you to at various points in the show. But first, I want to let you know at 11:40 we're going to talk with Drew the Disney Dude about what Universal's European plans. They've announced a park in Great Britain, what that means for Orlando, what the impact of that is, and what it tells us about Universal's plans for investment. So we will dive deep into that with Drew Smith coming up later in the show. Florida's Agriculture Commissioner Wilton Simpson in Hillsborough County today talking about Florida's wildfire danger. We know how dry that we have been in many parts across the state, needing some saturating rains in this dry season. So where do things stand with wildfire danger and preparations? We'll hear from the Ag Commissioner coming up in a little bit. Governor Ron DeSantis in Miami today talking about the condo crisis and also again criticizing House Republicans. Things have really ramped up between those two sides, and an interesting dynamic in the recent weeks, but especially in recent days as the legislative session has continued. So we will have more on that coming up in a little bit. But give you a live look right now at the Senate Committee on Commerce, Science, and Transportation, where they are having a hearing about locking the clock. This is something that Senator Rick Scott of Florida has advocated for, trying to get rid of the time change twice a year. He has advocated for permanent daylight saving time in the Sunshine Protection Act that he introduced back in January. So there is a hearing going on live right now. Again, I'll give you another live look here, where they are hearing from the founder of the Lock the Clock movement, the CEO of the National Golf Course Owners Association, also a neurologist and professor, and the president of the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety, because we know there are a number of impacts when it comes to changing the time, and that can include dangers on the roadways as well. So I'll get you inside this live hearing here in just a minute, but I want to go ahead and play for you Rick Scott's remarks at the beginning of this hearing, and then we'll take you live. So this was just moments ago, Senator Rick Scott inside this Senate hearing.
Thanks for the introduction. The invitation to introduce my bill, the Sunshine Protection Act, to finally lock the clock. Senator Cruz, I know you're mourning. It's been a tough week for you with the NCAA championship. I do look forward to the
Your time has expired.
All right. My bipartisan bicameral Sunshine Protection Act. It will end the twice-yearly time change and make daylight savings time the national year-round standard. I have the support of 17 of my colleagues here in the Senate and a House companion led by my friend, Congressman Vern Buchanan from the great state of Florida. I'm sure all of us have heard from our constituents on this. The American people are sick and tired of changing their clocks twice a year. It's confusing, unnecessary, and completely outdated. It's an understatement to say that our nation has changed since the United States began changing the clock over a century ago. For example, American households have electricity now. We also have self-driving cars, computers, and cell phones. Now, changing the clocks twice a year proves more of an annoyance to families than a benefit to them. In 2018, when I was governor of Florida, I signed legislation that would allow the state to opt out of the practice of changing the time. And nearly 24 other states have done the same, pending federal approval that will come by passing the Sunshine Protection Act. The American people love having an extra hour of sunlight, especially in my state of Florida, where that means more time you can enjoy outdoors and activities with families. Studies also show the potential for reduced cardiac issues, stroke, and seasonal depression, reduced robberies, benefits to the agricultural and overall economy with an extra hour of sunlight. This is a common sense change to simplify and benefit the lives of Americans. And we have a great opportunity to finally get this done with President Trump on board to lock the clock. I want to thank the committee for the consideration of the Sunshine Protection Act. I'm optimistic we can get this passed, signed into law, and finally lock the clock. Thank you.
So that was moments ago as the Senator Rick Scott talking about the Sunshine Protection Act. And one of the things that we have heard in testimony, I'm going to go ahead and get us back inside this hearing where this is going on live now. We did hear one of the doctors testify that standard time is actually the healthier choice. Talked about a couple of reasons for that because of just our body clock. But let's go ahead and listen back in to this conversation in the Senate Committee on Commerce, Science, and Transportation about locking the clock.
He needs to approach this carefully because to impose onto Indiana a solution that is the same as for New York and for New England is not the best interest of the people of Indiana and is a little bit rude. The one thing that I might say, though, is that I've never been to Indiana to testify, but I did go to Michigan to testify about their daylight saving time bill, and I went to Nebraska and to Kansas, which are states like Indiana on the western edge of their time zones and would make the most sense for them to be in standard time. And I advocated for that with the state senators and state representatives in those states. And all of them told me that all of their constituents don't care. They would rather, like they're in the middle of the winter, they're already going to school and going to work in the dark. And they would just like to have a little bit of time after school and after work to be in the light. So I said, okay, this is your state, you get to pick.
Thank you for your response. Mr. Karen.
Well, I'm no constitutional scholar for sure, but I don't see in the Constitution where it says that the federal government regulates time. I don't know if time falls under commerce, so it would naturally fall to the states if the federal government's not empowered to do so.
We have the view that everything falls under commerce.
I appreciate that. I will say, I feel it's less of a state issue than it feels like a personal issue. And the ability to do, for example, to Senator One's comments, I can simulate or practice sleep hygiene whether the sun is up or down, but I can't simulate sun hygiene. I can't light the world when we want to be out there when it's dark, right? And so I think, to me, it comes down to which choice, if you were to land on one, is going to be harder to adjust to. We are already on daylight saving time for 8 months, so we'd have to adjust for 4 months. If you reverse it, then we're adjusting 8 months of our calendar.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Johnson, would you like to say something?
Yeah, I want to talk about the western edge of time zones. States like yours are more aligned with central time zones. So already on standard time, your sun is going to be overhead closer to 1. When we go to daylight savings time, now it's closer to 2. And we see that this really impacts health risks, mental health risks, safety risks, how kids do in school. I want to highlight one Indiana study. When you guys ended going the parts of the state that were on standard time.
Wait, you're coming with a study, you're citing a study? Are we allowed to do that in this? Is that consistent with the rules, Chairman Cruz? I'm kidding, of course.
So when part of Indiana ended standard time and went to seasonal daylight savings time, they found that kids' high school test scores were actually much better when they were on standard time and dropped when they switched to even seasonal daylight savings time. And that's not adding the exponential harms of bringing those 9 a.m. sunrises, like you said. So we would love every place to be more in line with the sun. And as you said, states have different needs to get closer to that ideal.
Thank you, Doctor. Dr. Harkey?
So we didn't have a preference in our study for one time or the other in terms of how you set it. What our study showed was that the risk of fatalities for pedestrians and bicyclists in particular rises at night. And it rises for all motorists as well at night. So the real key is regardless of which decision you make and which time zone you use, you've got to make sure that you're putting interventions in that it's going to help with those who are traveling in those dark hours, whether it is more in the morning or more in the afternoon and evening. That's the real key, and particularly for pedestrians and bicyclists who are the overwhelming number of fatalities that are occurring in those dark hours.
I see.
Interesting conversation, and interesting to hear kind of all the different angles and impacts. We have heard everything from golf courses in New Mexico to sleep, to crashes, to performance in school. So a lot of different impacts, a lot of things to consider when it comes to potentially locking the clock. Again, just to reiterate here, it sounds like the preference, according to the legislation, is to make daylight saving time permanent. But what we're hearing from some of these people testifying, specifically Dr. Karen Johnson, who you saw just a moment ago, who is a neurologist and a professor, and has talked about the kind of the sleep science of all of this. She says that standard time is actually seems to be the healthier choice, the more natural choice for our bodies. We're going to go ahead and take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back with more after this.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
State charges have now been filed against Ryan Ruth. He is the man who previously had been facing federal charges in connection with what investigators say was an assassination attempt on the life of President Donald Trump back in September outside the President's Golf Club in West Palm Beach. It happened September 15th. You may remember investigators say Ruth was set up in a sniper hideout, basically waiting for Trump to show up at the golf course there. When he was spotted by Secret Service agents, ended up exchanging gunfire and taking off after that. He did already face federal charges in this, but Florida Attorney General James Uthmeyer spoke just a little bit ago posted a video on social media a little bit ago talking about the state investigation into this and how the difficulties that they had run into and what took so much time into them being able to file now state charges against Ruth. Here's the Attorney General from that video on social media.
I'm Attorney General James Uthmeyer. On September 15, 2024, Ryan Ralph attempted to assassinate then presidential candidate Donald J. Trump at the Trump International Golf Club in West Palm Beach. Shortly after the assassination attempt, Governor DeSantis signed an executive order directing the Office of Attorney General to work with our law enforcement partners and investigate Mr. Ralph. After 206 days of stonewalling by the federal government that stemmed from days of the Biden administration, I'm able to now announce that my office is charging Mr. Ralph for the attempted first-degree murder of President Trump, as well as a charge for terrorism. My office, as well as our law enforcement partners, were met with major roadblocks in prosecuting this case during Biden's term. Biden and his attorney general sought to frustrate our efforts and block our investigation into the man who crossed into this state and attempted to commit political violence against a Florida resident. Thank God he was unsuccessful, and thank God we have Donald Trump as president again. The leadership of U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel was instrumental in preserving Florida's sovereign authority to do what is right and bring justice where it is due. We now have a federal government willing to work together to pursue justice. Attempting to take the life of a former president and a leading presidential candidate isn't just an attack on one man. This was a political attack against our Republican form of government and our shared American values. We cannot allow justice to be delayed or denied, and thanks to the President, our U.S. Attorney General, and the FBI Director, we are moving forward in our pursuit. Our statewide prosecutors will work to hold this evil man accountable and keep Florida safe, strong, and free.
Live look at downtown Orlando on this Thursday morning. See some clouds in the sky, but overall a beautiful day, and you see traffic on the highways moving pretty well at this 11 o'clock hour here on this Thursday. Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Jessica Dobson joins me now, and Jess, kind of enjoying these more pleasant temperatures so far.
Yeah, it's honestly, we have had a really nice morning both yesterday and today. We're going to be expecting another really beautiful day to unfold gradually today, but we'll be about a hair warmer than yesterday. So a high of 80 today. We saw around 79 yesterday. So just truly splitting hairs at this point, but we'll see temperatures continue to climb to right around 80 degrees. Our high today in Orlando specifically. You'll notice we do have about a 10 to 20% chance of a shot of seeing a stray shower or two. Not going to be a washout, but I'll talk about those in just a moment. It's only 20% chance, and honestly, those chances are even looking a little impressive at this point. So we might be seeing these showers dissipate faster than what we anticipated. But regardless, our high temperatures today will be in the upper 70s and low 80s. 78 degrees are high today in Daytona Beach to New Smyrna, 79 in Titusville, 78 in Cocoa Beach and Melbourne. Meanwhile, closer to inland areas of Central Florida, 82 your high today in Leesburg and the Villages, and 81 in Ocala. So all in all, a little warmer, closer to, say, I-75, but still it is going to be a really pleasant day. Our normal high temperature is 82, so we'll be just shy of that. We'll take it. We're not at 90, so we got to soak up these days while we got them. So I talked about some of those shower chances, and really they're going to be so hit and miss, and for the most part, pretty light. We've had a stray shower or two across Brevard County since a little while ago, since a little earlier this morning, but it's truly been just a sprinkle. So we'll see this onshore wind, so this easterly wind, it's going to be pushing things onshore, and that's going to help to spark a couple of these showers. We've got a little bit of moisture to work with, just enough to maybe spark an isolated shower or two, especially close to, say, 3 and 4 o'clock. They'll gradually drift their way further to the west and work their way along that I-75 corridor through parts of Lake, Sumter, Marion counties before eventually and slowly dissipating as the evening wears on. So maybe some moderate downpours possible with a couple of these, but really not expecting too many major issues. In fact, even tomorrow when we have a cold front that's set to come through, we're only looking at around a 10% chance of rain. So really not too bad. About a 10% chance of rain even for tomorrow evening. So we're looking at just a sprinkle or two. 84 will be our high though tomorrow afternoon. So it is going to be a really pleasant and warm day. A little above normal, as I mentioned. So as I mentioned before, 82 degrees is our normal high temperature. But check this out. Once that cold front moves in, Saturday, high of 76 degrees, 79 by our Sunday. A lot of sunshine. This is going to be such a very nice weekend. It is just going to be picture perfect. If you don't have outdoor plans, you got to make some because it is going to be really nice. Now, that being said, now Sunday morning, it's going to be a little cooler. We'll see temperatures down into the 40s and 50s with a low of around 53 in the Orlando area, 51 in Leesburg. A couple spots, say in parts of Sumter, Lake counties, Marion County, you could see temperatures dip down into the upper 40s, but just a couple of isolated spots. So say the Villages, you might see a low of 48 degrees. If we had a high of 48, we'd be in real trouble, but 47 in Ocala and 47 as well in Gainesville. So most of us will be holding steady right around the low 50s come early Sunday. So as you're heading to bed Saturday night, I'm really bad about doing this, leaving my air conditioning on. Go ahead and shut it off so that way as you wake up Sunday morning, you're in good shape. You can crack the windows maybe a little bit too to take advantage of some of that free air conditioning because we don't get that too often, especially as we're in the springtime months now, and especially heading into the summer. But regardless, no 90-degree day in the 7-day at this point, 79 for Sunday, 86 Monday. So a pretty dramatic flip temperature-wise as we look ahead towards next week. As we start to see that new work week begin, temperatures will be heating back up. So if you're more of a fan of the mid to upper 80s, we've got a little bit more of a forecast for you, especially by Tuesday. We'll be just shy of around 90 degrees, so 89 for our high, and then 86 by Wednesday. But we need the rain. We are still under severe drought across parts of Central Florida, so we're still waiting on a good drought-busting rain. We just haven't had that yet. But regardless, it's still going to be a very nice stretch, so still all the reason to enjoy it, Garrett.
My wife is a softball coach. They've got a softball tournament this weekend, and it looks like you couldn't ask for better weather to spend a day out at the softball field.
Oh my gosh, yes. And it's funny on days like this and weekends like this, it's easy to forget things like sunscreen. So just keep that in mind because it feels so comfortable. You're not hot. I feel like a lot of us associate wearing sunscreen with being hot and being sunny, but I know I'm a bad culprit of doing that. So just keep that in mind because it's going to be just nice and clear for us. That's what's going to help to really aid us in cooling down come Sunday morning because we will be clear and calm and quiet. So just a couple of things to remember. But otherwise, I mean, it's going to be feeling like April. Got to take advantage.
All right. Good advice there. Yeah, never want to let that sunscreen go too far here in Florida.
Right. I have learned from my mistakes. We'll say that.
Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Jessica Dobson, we appreciate you joining us.
Mm-hmm.
And as we go to break here on Fox 35 News Plus, give you a live look at Daytona Beach from our Hard Rock Hotel camera. We'll be keep it right here on Fox Local. We'll be right back.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us on this Thursday morning, live on Fox Local and on YouTube. Governor Ron DeSantis was in Miami today talking about the condo crisis, held a news conference at the City of Sweetwater Community Center, where he applauded a Senate proposal, Florida Senate proposal, for what he called, quote, data-driven condo reform. He also conversely criticized the Florida House proposal that he says does not do enough to hold condo associations accountable or their managers as well. We have seen the governor at odds with the House specifically in a number of ways over the past few days and weeks, and he has not held any punches against the leadership and when he feels like he disagrees with them. So strong words again from him today about the House proposal, as he says that he thinks it puts developers over the people, and says that House Republicans are even going against what they campaigned on. Here's the governor at that news conference just a little bit ago.
And so we have been working with these stakeholders. Now, the Senate's current bill includes reforms to increase accountability of condo association managers. It strengthens electronic participation requirements while reinforcing strict voting integrity laws in place to ensure secure elections. It adds increased transparency for residents and creates annual analyses of milestone inspection reports to create a data-driven approach to condo safety. And crucially, it provides more flexibility for associations to phase reserve funding and use alternative funding methods, including investing contributions to generate more money for required repairs. And so that would provide relief from these crippling assessments. And, you know, we shouldn't be in the business of mandating that these assessments must be levied on folks. I think you have reform of condo governance, you have transparency, and then the residents are able to make the decisions that they think are in the best interest of themselves. Obviously, if you're a property owner, you don't want to see the property go down the tubes. I mean, you do have a vested interest in making sure, but you also have to do it in a way that's going to be feasible and economically sustainable. So I applaud the Senate for doing this. Senator Ileana Garcia is leading the bill. She's from here in South Florida. I thank them for doing that. And there may be other things that are added to it. Like I said, I don't have pride of ownership. I just want to get the job done for people of Florida. I want people to be able to stay in their homes. I think it's really important that people are not being forced to sell or forced to leave. And here's the thing. Some people will say, well, you know, these folks in there, you know, they have the assessments, and yeah, they're on fixed income, but they bought the condo 30 years ago, so it's worth a lot more. They can make money if they sell. The problem is okay, they sell it. Where do they go? Every house in Miami costs more. Every condo. I mean, it isn't like they're getting a windfall and then can buy something that's very affordable. You know, they would have to potentially buy something that's very expensive. And maybe that's moderating now, and there's, you know, who knows what will happen. But I think you would end up functionally, if someone's forced to sell, particularly elderly, I don't think they would have, many of them would not have a place to go to be able to buy a new place to live. And so that should be a concern of ours. Now, the House's current bill doesn't include any reforms to increase accountability of condo association managers. It creates a more costly and burdensome process for removing board members. It actually weakens electronic voting system requirements, thereby inviting more opportunities for fraud. It does not add increased transparency or comprehensive data evaluation regarding the milestone inspection reports, and it does not provide more flexibility for associations to phase funding for certain components of the structural integrity reserve study, but rather allows a board to approve assessments and loans without owner approval. Largely, the House's condo bill seems to be something that favors developers and puts the interests of developers over the interests of Florida residents. That is unacceptable. If these associations can't make improvements and the buildings are clearly obsolete, the value of the real estate that they are built upon may outweigh the investment. The problem is many seniors and middle-class condo residents can be displaced and ultimately may not have a place to call home. And so why are we even entertaining a situation where people are going to be put in that awful predicament? And here's the thing. Things happen in life, right? There's things, so many things that we cannot control in state government that happens, that it can impact people. But this is something that was created by legislation. This would not be happening without legislation that had been passed years ago. And so let's recognize that. Let's recognize that these consequences are not what we want, and let's provide reforms to be able to keep people in their condo units. That's what I have heard overwhelmingly from Florida residents. And we've been dealing with this issue now for close to a year, where we had folks that have been really concerned about it. And our job as elected officials is to listen and to provide solutions. And not everything can be solved through legislation, but I can tell you, if there's a problem created by legislation, we don't only have the ability, we have a duty to rectify that. And so I want to thank the folks in the Florida Senate who've moved credible legislation forward. I don't know what has gotten into the Florida House of Representatives. You know, they campaign on our Florida success, saying they're going to support the Florida model, and then they get in and they seem to be working to sabotage the great work that Florida has done over these last 6 years. I mean, remember, they fought me, the Florida House fought me when I said Florida needs to be enlisted to help President Trump enforce immigration laws. They tried to make Florida a de facto sanctuary state. Now, there was outrage from the public. People were not happy with that, and so we ended up getting strong legislation, and we're now leading the country on that. What else does the Florida House of Representatives do? They've actually joined with Democrats to undo spending reductions that I instituted in the budget last June. They've given over $60 million of excessive spending in this current year's budget, joining with Democrats to do that and to undo our cost savings that we instituted. That's not what you voted for. That is not what they told you they would do when they were running and seeking your vote in elections. What is their main thing that they're trying to accomplish this session in the Florida House? It seems to me, if you look at all the things that are on the agenda, is they're trying to contort Florida law to be able to benefit liberal trial lawyers. They want to undo tort reform. They want to provide windfalls for these lawyers who will do cases where the lawyers make all the money and the client gets very little. That is not going to be good for consumers. That is not going to be good for our economy. It's not going to be good for jobs. We should not turn over the state of Florida to the liberal trial bar. That is not what you voted for. That's not what they told you that they would do when they ran for election. We believe in putting Floridians first. That's what we've done for 6 years. That's why the state is #1 in economy, #1 in education. That's why we have a 50-year low in the crime rate. That's why we were the first state to stand up and defeat the woke agenda. That's why we've led on issue after issue. And the one thing I can tell you with me is, you know, when I tell you I'm going to do something, and certainly when I was seeking your vote in 22 for another term as governor, I didn't just say that stuff. I meant it. I got into office again, and I did it. And I delivered on that. I think what they're playing a very dangerous game in the Florida House, because they think that they can run one way, get into office, and then behave in a totally different way than what the voters thought that they were getting when they did. So I've been disappointed.
And just a little more context here. This comes, his words of House Republicans, about House Republicans. Obviously, as we just discussed before I played that clip, this is something that has been kind of brewing for a while now. But also yesterday, State House Budget Committee had a lot of questions about $10 million from a settlement with a Medicaid managed care company that went to the nonprofit Foundation of Hope Florida. The previous questions and investigations looking into Hope Florida and some other things that have to do with the DeSantises have really drawn the ire of the governor. Some also differences in the budget proposals from the House. So just a number of things going on that are kind of the backdrop to the strong words from the governor that continue against House Republicans. We're going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but don't go anywhere because we have much more. When we come back, we're going to take a look. We'll take you to that news conference in Hillsborough County from just a little bit ago where we look at Florida's wildfire danger. So keep it right here on Fox Local.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. It has been a dry season here in Florida. More than 1,000 fires fought this year, according to officials. And at a news conference just a little bit ago, talking about the danger of wildfires in Florida, they say they expect to fight more than 1,000 more by the end of fire season. Last year, according to the Agriculture Commissioner, there were about 550 fires at this point in the year, so nearly double the number of wildfires that we have seen this year compared to last year. I want to play for you a little bit of a news conference. Agriculture Commissioner Wilton Simpson and the Director of the Florida Forest Service talking about efforts and things that are going into mitigating wildfires across the state.
Some of the equipment, some of the newer equipment you can see here, some of the drone technology was able to start fires, able to monitor fires in real time. You know, when you have inclement weather, you can't always put up a fixed wing plane, you can't always put a helicopter up, but we can put a drone up. If we lose a drone, you know, it's going to be okay, right? We're you know, our safety is our number one concern. The dozers the legislature has provided in the last 3 years, I believe, I don't know what the total number is, but I believe we had about an 18-year-old fleet 2 years ago, and today I believe that is closer to about a 12 or 13-year-old fleet. We're trying to get that below 10 years because when we need our dozers, they have to start. They have to be on these fires. We fought over, I believe, 1,000 fires already this year. We will fight another 1,500 to 2,000 fires between now and the end of fire season. A lot of those fires are started by Mother Nature with lightning, but most of the fires are by arson or backyard fires that get away from us. And so we're here today to just warn the public, please do not throw cigarettes out your window. Contain your backyard fires. If you're going to have a fire pit, if you've got a barbecue, make sure it is thoroughly put out, because the best fire to fight is the one that never started. And we have the best trained men and women anywhere in the country in the Florida Forest Service. They have the best training in the world. They have the best equipment in the world. But wildfires can get out of hand. We've seen what it's done out west, and we certainly do not want to have an incident like that here. We had a pretty large fire just a few weeks ago in Miami, and I think it got up to about 50,000 acres total. But we took care of that fire in very short order relative to what we were dealing with there. Obviously, a nuclear power plant was in the area. The racetrack was in the area. So we had very high strategic value targets for the state of Florida. And we did that very successfully because of the professionalism of Rick Dolan and his team to make sure that we do that. Those successes do not guarantee future success. If the public sees something, we need you to say something. We need you to call. The earlier we can get on a fire and get it put out, the better we have it. We take nothing for granted here, and we are here to serve. We really appreciate our local firefighters that work with us in every county and the city municipalities. We work with all of them anytime we're needed, and we're looking for the continued partnerships. And anyways, we're here to just bring awareness today. So if you see something, certainly call local authorities. We have an open door with those local authorities and training arenas. Just did a major training here. We have now a fleet of 10 helicopters that are state copters. You've seen them in action now. We can go in and start putting fires out very quickly with some of that technology that we didn't have just a few years ago. We had older, when I say older helicopters, I mean from the 60s and 70s, the old Hueys from the military, and they weren't always reliable. And so we've got a lot better equipment now. We're very appreciative of those things, but we do need the public to stay vigilant. And again, we tell our folks to be very aggressive every day, but go home. So if you have a home, clean your gutters out, clean your roof off, make a defensible space that we can help you with when we get there.
As the commissioner said, we've responded to over 1,000 wildfires since January 1st. And to put that into perspective for you, at this point last year, we had responded to roughly 550. So we're a little bit over double where we were at this point last year, actually. And so we're expected another dry spring. Much like it's the same kind of message that we had last year at this point. The National Weather Service has predicted a dry spring for us through the end of June, and they've been pretty spot on. A little bit different this winter. The commissioner mentioned about the prescribed burn program here in the state of Florida, and it isn't excellent. It's the best one in the country. And last year we were very fortunate to have excellent weather and do a lot of prescribed burning around the state and actually set records. This year, because of the very dry winter, which was accurately predicted, we haven't burned quite as much, but we were able to get a lot of burning done. And the most important thing is that they did it very safely. And we are expecting Central and South Florida to be above average. We've gotten some timely rain in the Panhandle in North Florida recently, which will allow us to shift resources from North Florida to Central and South Florida as the fire activity picks up over the next 8 to 10 weeks. For example, we have drone teams in Central and South Florida as we speak to add some extra capacity to our district resources. Really proud of the partnerships that we have with the local fire service around the state. We can't do it alone. And the coordination and cooperation, for example, on the 344 fire at Miami-Dade was high profile, and a lot of infrastructure was threatened, and all the resources that were on scene did an excellent job. I was really proud of the coordination and the effort that went in down there. We didn't lose a structure, and there was a lot of valuable things that were threatened. The Florida Forest Service has some of the best firefighters in the country. Our men and women are trained at the top of their game, and we're very fortunate and very thankful, as the commissioner mentioned, about the extra equipment that we've gotten and updating our dozer fleet, which is our initial attack fire apparatus, as you see behind us here. And we're very fortunate to turn those over. For example, we purchased 43 new dozers this last year, and that's a big number for our agency. We're really proud of that, and we're very thankful that the legislature and Commissioner Simpson supports the Florida Forest Service and our emergency response effort.
So that was from that news conference earlier in Hillsborough County, talking about where things stand. You heard them talking about expecting some above normal risks in Central and South Florida. We're going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back after this.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us. We have talked a lot in recent days and weeks about Epic Universe ahead of the park's opening on May 22nd, but Universal has a lot of other things going on as well, and things that aren't necessarily happening here in Central Florida, at least not right now, but that still have an impact on it. They just announced a park in Great Britain. And joining me live now to talk with us about this and what all this means for us here in Central Florida is Drew Smith, who you know him as Drew the Disney Dude. And Drew, always good talking with you. We appreciate you joining us this morning here on Fox 35 News Plus.
Yeah, today I'm going to be Drew the Universal Dude because, like you said, Universal's been doing so much lately. And I think that this is just a very interesting angle because, like you said, we have so many things happening with Universal destinations and experiences around the world, but there's an indirect impact on Orlando, which I think all of you watching would care about. These are the parks that we go to. So it's very exciting for the future of this company.
Now, first talk to us about what Universal announced with this park in Great Britain and just kind of walk us through what we know about that first.
Yeah, so it's been rumored for a long time now. I've been following some international creators that we've heard some rumblings about a park coming to the United Kingdom, to Great Britain for Universal. And there's been a lot of excitement around this because over there, you've mainly just had Disneyland Paris as the main major park, especially connected to a brand like Disney. But now Universal said, not so fast. We are coming in. We're jumping in this game as well. And they announced that they are aiming to start construction in 2026 and then proposed for an official opening in 2031. So this one's still a little ways out. This concept art is very early. This isn't the final concept art by any means, but it does look beautiful. You have the classic Universal Globe and then that walkway leading up to this massive waterway with 3 proposed roller coasters here. So this is very good for destinations as a whole for Universal.
We also know a kind of big picture here that Universal is in the process of opening 3 parks at the moment, including a kids resort in Texas.
Yeah, so if you include Epic Universe out here in Orlando, it's not officially open yet, and then you have this on screen right now. This is Universal Kids Resort opening in Frisco, Texas. It's about 30 minutes north of Dallas. I actually lived about 10 minutes away for a little while where they're building this park. It's a beautiful area. So this park is designated specifically for kids and families, but the immersion and the theming here in this concept art, it looks great. And then you have Hollywood. Hollywood's undergoing a transformation right now as well with Fast and Furious Hollywood Drift, that new roller coaster, and they're kind of transforming that entire resort, presumably for the Olympics coming up in 2028. And then you have, Great Britain. So there's just such a strong pipeline here of world-class offerings from Universal in the coming years.
And so what does this mean then for Orlando and with these things in the works, with plans beyond that, what does that mean for us here?
Yeah, so I think that's why the main reason I wanted to talk to you today about this is because everyone watching at home is probably like, well, this isn't here, so why would I care about it? But the way that I look at this is, let's say Hollywood is around 2028, where they kind of want to wrap up this transformation. And then you have, Kids Resort in 2026, and then you have Great Britain in 2031. Well, the way that I view that is that Universal is planning past 2030. So if they're already planning past 2030 for their destinations and experiences segment of the company as a whole, well, that means that we have projects that are in development right now for Universal Orlando Resort that we just don't know about yet. And that's not just me speculating. This video that you guys are seeing on screen right now, this was recently posted on the Universal Orlando YouTube channel. They had Mark Woodbury, Karen Irwin, basically the leaders of Universal Orlando, talking about Epic Universe and beyond. I think her exact quote was, Epic Universe might feel like a finale, but it's really just the beginning of what we want to do kind of with these world-class offerings lately. And they've even put it officially in this video that they have the next thing in the works for Epic Universe. And we also know that Hollywood Rip Ride Rocket is closing in early September for a new experience. I've heard some rumors about what that's going to be, and it sounds very promising, probably another coaster there. But there's just so much planning here, so much collaboration and investment. And I think that when you have these people that are very personal, like Mark Woodbury and these leaders, and they just feel like real people, and then you see how good Epic Universe has been with how strong the early reviews have been, I think the future of Universal Orlando Resort is extremely, extremely bright.
It's crazy to think that Epic Universe, not even being open yet, and having all the different worlds that it does, but that they're already working on expansions for it. Do we know what that might look like?
Yeah, so I mean, I think that a lot of people have been talking about, Zelda or Wicked. There's always those IPs and properties that people want. But I think the big thing here is we do have this massive opening celebration for Universal Epic Universe coming up in May. So if Universal is ready to drop this next expansion, being like, hey, we're opening this park right now, but here's the official announcement for what's coming, that would be amazing. But that's just speculation on my end. We don't know exactly what is coming, but just the fact that they were ready to say, yes, we have the next big project in the works for Epic already before this park officially opens, I just think is so promising. And for me personally, as a diehard Disney fan, it's kind of opening my eyes to Universal and how strong this company has been lately.
That's what I was kind of wanting to segue into here, because there has been a lot of hype around Universal, specifically because of Epic Universe, for a while now. But with this talk of these other things, I mean, that's not going to slow down. It sounds like they are really kind of ramping things up and really trying to stick it to Disney a little bit here when it comes to these theme park wars.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so great to see healthy competition in this industry. Something that I'm big on is a lot of people compare Disney to Universal, and there's just so much negativity and bickering and back and forth around it. And I absolutely despise that, because the reason why these people work on these theme parks and the reason why so much money is poured into these theme parks is to make people happy, to make memories for these families when they are spending their hard-earned money to come into these experiences and experiencing them with their family and friends and close ones. And when I'm seeing Universal contribute to that, which is just going to propel the entire attractions industry forward positively. Every single year out here in Orlando, we have IAPA Expo, which is the International Association of Amusement Parks and Attractions. All these professionals from around the world coming and seeing what's new and what's best. And Universal is adding to that. And then we have Disney and all these companies from around the world, and it's just so encouraging, and it brings a lot of optimism to me as someone who follows the theme parks. And I think just for like, the last 5 years now since Hagrid's opened and Velocicoaster opened, that was kind of the start of when Universal, I think, started to take a turn for the better with their projects. And now, you have this 100-acre theme park with over 10 attractions, live shows. It's incredible. It really is epic, as people would say. That sounds cliche, but it's really good stuff. And like you said, the future is bright. They're not stopping by any means.
Yeah, it seems like they really don't want to let that momentum go, because I think you can certainly, and I know you're much more plugged in with it than I am, but for those of us who do follow this theme park news, they really are, they really do have the momentum, and they are running with it right now.
Yep. And honestly, good for Universal. I think this is just such a testament to when you have creative people and you fund those creative visions, how incredible these things can turn out to be. Epic Universe is a visual embodiment of that at this point. It's not, any wonder anymore. People have been to this park, everyone's loving it. It turned out beautifully. And that's why when I'm looking at everything they're doing around the world, thinking about Hollywood and then the kids resort in Frisco and even Great Britain now, Universal means business, and it's just fantastic to see.
And so if you're let's say, not just to pick on Disney, but if you're one of these other theme parks, including obviously Disney in our area, and you see this, what do you think? What does that tell you about what is going to be expected from your park?
Yeah, so I think it's phenomenal, honestly. And my hope is that Disney's executives will go to Epic Universe, experience this park in person, and then just go into their future projects open-minded to see what they can do better in the future. Back when Islands of Adventure opened in the early 2000s, it's been just about 25 years since we've seen a major theme park open in the United States. And now it's different with social media, where when I've been on social media on all these platforms, my entire feed is Epic Universe, mainly How to Train Your Dragon Isle of Berk. I think that is going to be the sleeper hit of this entire park. But yeah, to answer your question, I just think that this is such a golden opportunity for these leaders and these executives to go in open-minded with this park and say, hey, if people are loving this, well, how can we translate that DNA into our future experiences so we are doing things better going forward? Disney obviously has done world-class things for 70 years now, since Imagineering was founded and since Disneyland opened, and Disneyland is about to open for its 70th celebration, and they're having a massive thing out there from this summer to next summer. But I think it's just so great to see Universal doing so well, because it might take Disney from doing what they do best and doing what they're used to, but then switch things a little bit up. And I just think having an open mind with those things just is fantastic for everything going forward to maybe change things for the better.
And certainly fantastic for those of us around here who like to go to those theme parks.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just, it's kind of crazy. Like, even though people have been to Epic Universe now, and even though we're seeing all these videos and reactions come out in the media events, and we know that this park's opening in just over a month, it's like part of it still doesn't feel real, that this park is going to be here for decades to come, especially with how good it is, with how strong the attractions are, the live entertainment, the character offerings. Like, even though I've been to this park, I'm like, yeah, this is here. And like, eventually we're going to have annual passes to this park, and Disney's going to have all these things coming down their pipeline. And then Universal's going to be doing even more, which we've talked about today. And, just kind of thinking about in the coming years, we're going to have new experiences, the Universal Studios Florida and Islands of Adventure on top of Epic Universe, just opening a couple years prior at that point down the road. So it's kind of one of those surreal moments that, like you said, as a theme park fan, we benefit so majorly from these companies spending money on these parks, and just seeing how happy it makes people, in a world that's full of negativity and hatred. It's so nice to have these theme parks, and I think that they are important now more than ever.
All right. Good stuff, Drew. We appreciate it. Always good talking with you, and appreciate you breaking that down for us. A lot is in the works, and exciting to think about how things are going to change here with the theme park kind of landscape in the next decade or so. And so exciting to think about, exciting to talk about, and we appreciate you joining us here on Fox 35 News Plus.
Yeah, very exciting times to be a theme park fan. As you said, I appreciate you bringing me on today to talk about it.
All right. Well, that is going to do it for us here on Fox 35 News Plus. We hope you join us at 2 o'clock with Florida Live. Got a lot to cover there. And then we'll be back at 4 o'clock as well with more Fox 35 News Plus. In the meantime, as we wrap up here, I will leave you with a view of the Stardust Racers at Epic Universe, one of the coasters that you can ride there. It's gotten rave reviews from a number of folks who we have talked to who have ridden it. That is in the Celestial Park section of Epic Universe. So again, May 22nd is when everything opens. So we're going to step aside here, but we appreciate you joining us. Keep it here on Fox Local.